And it came to pass that the Lamanites came upon the north of the hill, where part of the army of Moroni was concealed. And as the Lamanites had passed the hill Riplah and came into the valley, began to cross the river Sidon, the army which was concealed on the south of the hill, which was led by a man whose name was Lehi. And he led his army forth and encircled the Lamanites about on the east of the rear. And it came to pass when the Lamanites, when they saw the Nephites coming upon them and the rear, they turned about and began to contend with the army of Lehi. And the work of death commenced on both sides, but it was more dreadful on the part of the Lamanites, for their nakedness was exposed to the heavy blows of the Nephites with their swords and their centimeters, which brought death almost on every stroke. And it came to pass that the Lamanites became frightened because of the great destruction among them, even until they began to flee toward the river Sidon. And they were pursued by Lehi and his men, and they were driven by Lehi into the waters of Sidon. And they crossed the waters of Sidon, and Lehi retained their armies on the bank of the river Sidon, that they should not cross. And it came to pass, Moroni and his army met the Lamanites in the valley on the other side of the river Sidon, and began to fall upon them and to slay them. And began to slay them. And began to slay them. And the Lamanites did flee before them towards the land of Manti, and they were met again by the armies of Moroni. They were met again by the armies of Moroni. And now this did cause the Lamanites, they did fight exceedingly. And they never had the Lamanites been known to fight with such exceedingly great strength and courage, not even from the beginning. And it came to pass that when the men of Moroni saw the fierceness and the anger of the Lamanites, they were about to shrink and flee before him. Moroni, perceiving their intent, sent forth and inspired their hearts with these thoughts. Yea, the thoughts of their lands, their liberty, yea, their freedom from bondage. And they turned upon the Lamanites and did cry with one voice unto the Lord their God for their liberty and their freedom and their bondage. And they began to stand against the Lamanites with power in the self-same hour that they were crying to the Lord for their freedom. And the Lamanites began to flee before them, and they fled even to the waters of Sidon. And now the Lamanites were more numerous, yea, by more than double the number of the Nephites. Nevertheless, they were driven, insomuch that they were gathered together in one body in the valley upon the bank of the river Sidon. Therefore the armies of Moroni encircled them about, yea, even on both sides of the river. For behold, on the east were men of Lehi. Therefore when Zarahemnah saw the men of Lehi on the east of the river Sidon, and the armies of Moroni on the west of the river Sidon, that they were encircled about by the Nephites, they were struck with terror. And Moroni, when he saw their terror, commanded his men that they should stop the shedding of blood.
Zarahemnah, for ye have come against us. We are fighting for our homes, our wives, our children, and our liberty. Yea, for the rights of worship and for our church. Ye have hated us for our religion. But I would have ye understand that the Lord has delivered you into our hands because of our faith in Christ. And now ye see that ye cannot destroy this, our faith.
We do not believe that it is God that has delivered us into your hands. We are not of your faith. It is your cunning that has preserved you from our swords. Behold, it is your breastplates and your shields that have preserved you. We do not accept defeat.
Yea, it is true that I have few men. But nevertheless, you are surrounded, completely cut off. There is no way of escape. And God will never suffer that we shall be destroyed, except we should deny our faith. Now, Zarahemnah, I command you in the name of that all-powerful God that ye deliver up your weapons of war unto us, and we will spare your lives, if ye will go your way and take an oath that ye will come not ever again to war against us. If ye do not this, I will command my men that they shall fall upon you and inflict upon you the wounds of death, that ye become extinct.
Take our weapons of war. We will deliver them up to you. But we will not suffer ourselves to take an oath unto you, which we know we shall break, and also our children. But suffer that we may depart into the wilderness. Otherwise we will retain our swords, and we will conquer or perish.
I cannot recall a word which I have spoken. Therefore ye shall not depart, except ye depart with an oath, that ye will not return again against us to war. Either we will spill your blood upon the ground, or ye shall submit to the conditions which I have proposed.
And now when Moroni had said these words, Zarahemnah retained his sword, and he was angry with Moroni, and he rushed forward that he might slay Moroni. But as he raised his sword, behold, one of the Moroni's shoulders smote him to the earth, broke the hilt, and smote Zarahemnah, that he took off his scalp, and it fell to the earth. And Zarahemnah withdrew from before them into the midst of his soldiers. Now there were many which heard these words, saw the scalp which was upon their sword, and were struck with fear. And many came forth and threw down their weapons of war at the feet of Moroni, and entered into a covenant of peace. And as many as entered into the covenant, they did suffer to depart into the wilderness. And now it came to pass, Zarahemnah was exceedingly wroth, and he did stir up the remainder of the soldiers to anger, to contend more powerfully against the Nephites. And Moroni was angry because of the stubbornness of the Lamanites. Therefore he commanded that his people should fall upon them and slay them. And it came to pass, they began to slay them, yea, the Lamanites did contend with their might. Now Zarahemnah, when he saw that they were all about to be destroyed, cried mightily to the Moroni, promising that he would covenant, that if they would spare the remainder of their lives, that they would never come to war against them. And it came to pass, Moroni caused the work of death should cease among the people. And he took the weapons of war from the Lamanites. And after they entered into a covenant with him of peace, they suffered to depart into the wilderness.
Woo! Go Nephites! Woo!